dumpster dive. That's right, it's a Christmas miracle because I'm back here in the old-ish set, ready and raring to take a big old bite out of your anime hot takes. You know the deal by now, I'm going through your comments, I'm going through your tweets, for the moment at least, to find me the best anime hot takes you all have. Don't let me down. Naruto is the okayest anime ever. It's so average that it is not fair to elevate it or dump on it. It's the very definition of a template from which others can only improve upon. You know it's a sad day when saying something is okay might be considered a hot take, but that's just the hellscape us anime fans live in. But to your point, I do believe there is some merit to giving Naruto the title of most shonen anime ever. Everything we typify with the shonen anime genre, Naruto has and has in abundance, especially when it comes to character archetypes. The plucky protagonist with heretofore undiscovered potential and powers, the angsty loner that flip-flops between being a rival and an enemy and then ultimately a friend to the protagonist, the pervert. And I think if we all look at Naruto like that, then we can all kind of come to the same understanding that you did. Sure, it copied a lot from Dragon Ball Z, but if you look at shonen anime made today, they're all pretty much aping from Naruto. Whether or not they're doing it any better, that's a different matter entirely. I love Akira, but the time for a live-action movie has passed. In a post-WikiLeaks era with ubiquitous smartphones and 24-hour news, the idea of a government experimenting on children and covering up that one of their experiments blew up Japan strains suspicion of disbelief. Mother of God. An anime straining the suspension of disbelief? That's only ever happened all of the time! Look, there's a lot about Akira that really hasn't aged well, and chief among them is the original Streamline dub.
You Neanderthal pile of crap! I'm gonna get you someday! We'll remember this, slugwort!
But its story is not one of them. As the Marvel Cinematic Universe has proved, you can take a patently silly premise and present it in a way that modern audiences will learn to roll with. Hell, why do you think they chose an MCU director to helm the Akira movie? Well, eventually he's going to do it. You know, when he gets around to it and has half a mind to it. It's not like we haven't been reading about an Akira movie being in the works for the last 20 motherfucking years. At this point, the only hot take regarding an Akira movie is that one will come out. For all the hate it has received, Sword Art Online will be remembered and enjoyed long past most of the anime that followed in its footsteps. I really hate saying this, but you're probably right. Looking past the fact that Sword Art Online was instrumental to the inundation of isekai anime that we're still dealing with, the fact that people are still talking about the series over 10 years after its premiere is pretty remarkable considering its checkered reputation. Hell, it might even be because of its checkered reputation. You know, no such thing as bad publicity and all. And if you try to look at other similarly themed anime or other isekai that came out shortly afterward, the conversation surrounding them is mostly dead. You'd have to dig pretty hard to find, let's say, a Discord server hosting a thread about how cool it would be if there was another season of Batum or Knights and Magic. Or just casually mention them in a YouTube video saying that no one wants another season of either, and watch those who remember leave a comment.
That's bait.
Works every time. Star Trek the original series is borderline unwatchable. I know it's not anime, but needs to be said. What the hell are you talking about? Star Trek is the best anime of all time!
Intelligent life is too precious a thing to be led by the nose.
But you are my children.
I know that the first season can kind of drag ass, but you just gotta stick with it. It gets really good by the middle of season 2. Trust me. Pokemon is literally the most profitable media franchise with $118.5 billion in revenue. Its toys and merch is everywhere. So no, anime is not niche anymore. Well, Pokemon is a video game franchise, not really an anime franchise. I mean, it started as a video game which became so popular that they spun off an anime series from it, which in turn became so successful that they only now started to change protagonists 25 years after it premiered. But even if you wanted to ignore the fact that the video games came first, a lot of what drives the Pokemon Company's revenue comes from the video games. In fact, I found the website you probably got that $118.5 billion figure from, and it broke down how the Pokemon Company earned all that money. And animation made up barely 2% of that figure. The vast majority of that $118.5 billion was made through merchandise sales, and then video games. But it really doesn't matter how much money the Pokemon Company makes, or if Pokemon is an anime franchise or a video game franchise. No one company has the power to dictate what is or isn't mainstream. Think of it this way. Marvel movies are some of the most profitable and most successful movies of all time. But you wouldn't say that comic books are now mainstream now, would you? The general population just likes what it likes and is content to stay in that lane for as long as it suits them. Likewise, a kid growing up playing Pokemon and watching the anime might one day find other Japanese video games or other anime. But they're just as likely to not. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone has the proverbial fingers on the pulse of the zeitgeist to know exactly when something has gone mainstream. Mostly, we just come to that realization in hindsight. Anime is getting there, no doubt about it, but it still has a pretty high mountain to climb because, America being a different country and all. But for now, the other side of the mainstream coin. The fact that a lot of anime is made with an international audience in mind is mostly a curse. What I've usually enjoyed about anime was how different it was in style, sensibility, and structure. I could be missing a key factor, but that's what's been on my mind. I think a lot of otaku that came of age during the 80s, 90s, and the aughts probably gravitated towards anime for the exact same reasons you mentioned. And I include myself in that statement. Counterculture is powerful like that. Sometimes you want something that's different and rough to help give texture to the smooth and polished. And make no mistake, anime back then was rough. But regardless of where anime used to be and where it is now, the anime industry is an industry. It's a business, and they're always looking to grow. And no matter how you slice it, the global audience will always be the biggest audience. Now, how that will affect anime in terms of story structure or design or presentation hasn't really materialized yet, at least not on a macro scale. But I think in a few years, it will become more apparent. You do have my sympathies. It sucks feeling like the thing that you've always loved just isn't the same anymore. An anime being too popular as a criticism is, in my opinion, a bunk argument. However, having too much merch of varying quality as a result of said popularity kinda begs the question what exactly it's a criticism of. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! Take a bow, good sir or madam, because you just won this episode. Take all the likes. Just all of them. Even the ones that haven't been made yet, they're yours now. Actually, you know what? I got one better. You get the grape job sticker, and you best believe when you scratch it, it smells like grapes. Don't really have much to add to that otherwise. Then again, it don't need it. As someone who watched the 1995 movie and read the manga prior to its release, I must say that the 2017 Ghost in the Shell live-action movie isn't really bad, and people putting it on par with Dragon Ball Evolution are exaggerating. Shocker of shocks! I don't agree. I'll grant you that Dragon Ball Evolution is technically the worst movie, but Ghost in the Shell 2017 is still such an insipid, dull, boring, and dumb movie. If you're looking for a more in-depth opinion about the movie, you could just watch my episodes on it right here. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. It could have been so much better than what it was. And that's why it hurt so much. While it is a hack job by definition, the Digimon movie that we got in the US is overall a fun film that works more than it fails. It also has possibly the best soundtrack with a shocking mix of ska and alt-rock. Honestly, I think the music genres fit really well to the style, though that may well be because they formed my opinions on what music styles would fit in anime. Oh, it's fun, no doubt about it. But it's also a really hot mess. The music choices also are more of a meme than anything else at this point, and this is coming from someone who grew up listening to ska punk and Smash Mouth. Like I said in my episode on it, I got a lot of warm, fuzzy childhood memories attached to the Digimon franchise and the movie, and I can still have fun with it to this day. But it still fails more than it legitimately works. Dems the brakes. My anime hot take, if you can call it that, is I think there should be a larger body of people criticizing the classics. Not out of a desire to see overrated shows be brought down a peg, but just to see the discussion around these shows become healthier. Let's see more people dig into why Cowboy Bebop / Full Metal Alchemist / Trigun don't work for them in nuanced and thoughtful fashion. Instead, feels like discussion of many of these works boils down to, is this the greatest anime ever or just one of the greatest? Well, this kind of goes back to what I was saying in my Cowboy Bebop the movie episode. In the platonic ideal, yes, it would be great if all the debates surrounding the classics were filled with spirited, well-informed arguments that would ultimately lead to a much more nuanced, more thoughtful, and much more thorough take on the classics. Fuck the Legion, Eddie here is a 2-bit cosplayer who thumbed the Science of Logic and then pretended like he read Heigel's entire bibliography front to back like a goddamn mook. But the reality of the situation is that most of the time the situation boils down to a tired-ass game of, no you! I mean, there's plenty to criticize about the anime you mentioned. Just because you're a classic doesn't mean you're flawless after all. But until we realize that, as well as the fact that debate isn't about winning, so to speak, then the conversation will always wind up being a directionless mess. My hot take is that Sage needs to review Violence Jack already. Yes, I'm still salty. Considering you go by Roman Sucks and your profile is a picture of Roman Reigns with a big old red X through it that has to be at least 3 years old by this point, it doesn't surprise me that you're a salt mine. But hey, I'm not opposed to doing an episode on Violence Jack now that Discotek has released a brand spanking new Blu-ray that is truly uncut and uncensored. Not sure how I'd approach it or how I could talk about it and have it stay monetized, but if I do find a way, sure, I'd do it. And on that bombshell, I think I'm gonna call it. I want to thank everyone for participating, and if you got yourself an anime hot take you want to share, leave it in the comments below. You might just find it on next month's Dumpster Dive. But for now, I want to wish you all happy holidays and have a happy new year. Till next time.